Hey everybody, Ranchin here, bringing all another StarCraft commentary. I have Kenny casting alongside me again. Kenny, say hi.
Hello.
There we go. Very nice. Hello there. So this is going to be Pro League Playoffs first match overall, and this is going to be Game 4 or Set 4, whichever you want to call it. KTF are 2-1 ahead, and now SKT1 have been forced again to send one of their better players out. They're going to send out Fantasy to face Hoja. So Hoja now with going on a 2-0 streak, beating Bisu and Kanata in both very good games, just overall just playing a good game, good solid stuff, and now he's going to face off against Fantasy on Rush Hour 3. Talk about stuff where he just might get his butt kicked. So Fantasy not known for his VZ play, but he's still just an overall solid player. So I think if there's anybody who can bring back a set here, it's going to be him. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, I'm just going to get the positions out of the way here, and then I'll let Kenny give his views. At 3 o'clock we are going to have Hoja in orange, and that means at the 7 o'clock we are going to have Fantasy in let's guess, yellow? Yes, yellow. Haha, I'm psychic. So Kenny, thoughts?
Well, Rush Hour 3 is an interesting map. I think it's a very hard map for Zerg players in general, but it can be hard for Terrans as well. There's some interesting aspects. There's bridges, there's ways to run around so that you can kind of trick the player. But it is harder, I think, for Zerg to hold their natural, just because of the way it's positioned. You can attack from both sides, so it makes them have to defense up a lot more than usual. Fantasy, one thing to note, man, is Fantasy is pretty much a baller, and I think most people know this, but I think if one person can stop this Reign of Terror Hojas going on right now, it would be Fantasy. Fantasy's got, of course, one of the creator of the Fantasy build, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with where he did the quick vulture drop with mines, and actually mines the larva for the actual Zerg player, so they can't get mutas out in time, and basically they're just GG'd. It's pretty funny strat to see. You should look up reps if you haven't ever seen it. But anyways, more back on the map. Realistically, I think that if I had to give a favor, I actually don't know the statistics on this map. I just know from what I've seen. I'd have to say that Terran would have the advantage in this matchup. But again, like I said, those naturals expansions, I don't want to think about them too much, but they are actually very important in today's style of play. Simply because Terran is so used to doing early expansion builds, and as you can see, we are seeing gas. So will we see the Fantasy build? I don't know, but early gas could mean that we might see that. But anyways, having that natural expansion being so vulnerable and being able to be flanked, etc., is a very big deal for both these players, actually, because of the strategies they use so much these days. And we are going to see Hoja opting for an early pool, so this could be interesting because Fantasy did block, but he is also going for tech, so he's going to have to deal with a few lings early on. But overall, that is a ling tight wall, I believe, so he'll be just fine as long as he watches out for that, my man.
my man. So yeah, just moving out a couple ACVs, probably just gonna go scout both ways just in case, or possibly even thinking of, I don't think he's going expansion, that would be silly. So we're gonna see overall where it is, gonna go just scout in a circular position, now getting his factory going, so we are probably going to see some vultures out there, and if he does get vultures out there inside, they're going to be able to help him pretty well against these Zerglings. Now going to spot the Zerglings, meanwhile on the way to his base from the back, so very smart play there by Fantasy, setting one of the SCVs from the back, so he gets the spot on the Zerglings very early, and instantly moves some SCVs to start repairing any buildings that the Zerglings might attack. It also has a Marine there in the back, so 2 Marines in fact, 3 Marines actually, so I don't think there's going to be too successful. Science was now going to start repairing SCVs, I'm sorry, going to start repairing. Yeah, every Terran's dream to get a science vessel this early. But yeah, so Hoja's not going to be able to go for a break here. Very, very early Zergling, so now he's going to be forced to put down the expansion, not going to be able to do any sort of damage overall at all. But he has also very early gas, so Zergling speed already completed, and now he's been forcing again to mine a crap load of minerals, because he is, I think, could be a little bit economically behind 2 base against 1 base Terran. Terrans just are one of those races that can just sit pretty on 1 base for a while before they really need to expand, even though expanding and holding 2 bases is against Zerg is pretty much the optimal position for them. Hoja just planning outside with a control group of Zerglings, and also putting down a 3rd hatcher apparently inside of his main. So he could be, again, switching to mutas, try to exert some pressure there and try to do some sort of economic harassment. It is pretty successful. If Terran stays on one base and you manage to do some nice muta harasses, could be very successful. Now Hoja going to try again to pressure him, but especially with those 3 Marines and 1 Vulture now, the Zerg is just going to be not successful. 2 or 3 SCVs, I believe, repairing that that supply depot that he... Wow, my tongue and brain really like science vessel right now, but yeah, he's not going to be able to break through there. So he's going to have to go muta, he's going to have to go air to try to do some sort of economic damage, try to exert pressure, not going any gas though, so I question my own opinion in that this could be muta.
I actually doubt that it's going to be muta at this point. It could be. One thing to note while you were talking during there, Fantasy actually is going towards what looks like to be the Fantasy build. As you can see, he got his 2 Vultures out, he got the Starport, and I assume that add-on for the machine shop is going to start spinning very soon, which would either mean speed or mines, and in that case we might see exactly what I was talking about, and there we go, it is indeed spinning, the dropship is on the way, and this build is so perfectly timed. Basically what's going to happen is by the time he gets his 4 Vultures out and ready to load up into that dropship, he will have his upgrade done by the time the dropship gets to the base of his opponent, and that is why he's so famous for this build, because it's so well timed and really had never been used at that point. As you can see, he's hiding the Vultures, he's trying to make it look like he's doing something else, and I think that Hoja's got to think something's going on. Nothing has come out of the base. This is usually very rare, and right now you can see that it looks like he's scouted up to make sure that he's not going to run into anything with this dropship. Basically the SDV is his little beacon, just running forward in the darkness, making sure that nothing is ahead to catch this dropship. So he's trying to catch him off guard, but I gotta think Hoja knows something is up. Nothing has come to the base yet, and there we go, we are seeing the lair and we are seeing the Hydra Den, and here we go, Fantasy build by the man Fantasy himself. So here we go, dropping those Vultures in. They do have speed now, tearing apart some of those drones. 1 goes down, 2 goes down. Is he going to get 3? Looks like he's going to get 3, and now he's going to try to counter it back at the main with those lings, but being the smart player Fantasy is, he knows that it's coming, so he waited, and now he's trying to micro against a couple of these Hydras, trying to take them out, and maybe, oh, and a couple Lings actually did sneak by that wall, as it isn't Ling tight. He did have some Vultures, though, to clean up the remainder of that, and now, as you can see, he's using the vision to go ahead and attack the drones from high ground, so really, a lot of the economic production going to shitter right now, as he's not able to mine because of these Vultures in his base, and the Fantasy build usually is a little bit different than what we just saw, although I'm still going to call this the Fantasy build, as he got speed instead of mines, which we've seen him do both, and it's an interesting build, and now he's coming up from the front, and really he's just throwing his opponent off. He's completely all over the place, picking off drones, and really slowing down the production of Hoja, and that's really the purpose of this build, is not to kill your opponent, but to just slow them down so much that you get a very large lead, and then from there can just run with it, and I think that's what Fantasy is going to try to do. As you can see, now getting the dropship ready for his Marines and Medics, and this is exactly what he wanted to force his opponent to do, is to go Hydralisk, and then he just drops Marines and Medics, which completely own just random Hydralisks, and there we go, the Medic is out now, so I expect him to probably load those up and head for the base soon, or maybe just go for a frontal attack. He could really do either at this point and probably be successful, so really well played and thought out by Fantasy, and I'm glad that you guys got to see what I was talking about this game with the Fantasy build.
Yeah, just overall awesome pressure, awesome economic harassment by Fantasy. Now going to push out with Medic Marine groups. First with the dropship, he's going to start off with a drop, then he's going to follow on with forces on the ground. Is like awesome, superior military, actual military tactics going on. The dropship is going to be spotted by Overlord, but I don't think Hoja just doesn't have anything to counter this. He would have needed Mutalisks. If he had Mutalisks, oral workers, this would have helped him out, but overall just the timing, perfect, everything by Fantasy. Going to be able to attack from any direction he wants. Has a couple of Vultures, again at the natural, preventing so much money. He has 2 drones mining at the natural for Hoja, and I'm not even sure at the main, like, definitely not even close to being 10. The only real force he has to defend inside of his main, the 3 Hydralisks, now getting Inspired going, and he has, I think, 2 Hydralisks at the natural, if those haven't been killed already. So Fantasy with such an advantage, moving out, a bunch of Sunkens being put down now by Hoja. He knows he's going to try to have to hold this and wait for his Spire to help him support. But I think even with the Spire up, he's just not going to be able to get any sort of forces to really help defend this. With that tank there, of course, he's just going to be able to siege up and just attack those Sunkens from distance, clear up the Sunkens, then just move in. Also going to move in with a dropship out from the right side. The tank and those Medic Marines are going to be able to defend that tank. So I think at this point, Fantasy is ready to take in this game. Hojo really has no chance of getting back into this no matter what he does. Just again, those vultures running in, damaged as hell, but doesn't really matter. They just do a lot. Now bunkers being set up by Fantasy, so he's going to put on an absolute fort position. 4 Sunkens there, and of course this means that Hojo has been spending so many of his minerals that would have hoped to keep for some other units on those Sunkens. And overall, just nothing really more to say. Fantasy, with an absolute perfect build order, takes this game. Not going to take out all those Sunkens. Going to move in with his Medic Marines. Not even bothering anymore. Going to take out this hatchery. And this is going to be it. This is over for GG now. They're coming from Hojo. So Fantasy doing a perfect thing there. Going to move on to set 5 with Kenny casting alongside me. Thanks for joining me here, Kenny. GG, guys. Ranchin is out.